Okay, welcome to the December 10th Citizens Oversight Committee meeting. And nice to see everybody here. Happy holidays. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Our first agenda item is the approval of the minutes, this time from May and September. Did everybody get a chance to go over those? Can I get a motion first for May to approve?
I so move.
Thanks,
Excuse me,
Kevin.
Chair.
All agreed?
Excuse me, Chair. We need a roll call.
Do you? Okay,
Yes, please. Thank you. For to call the order, attendance roll call.
thank you.
Thank you. Member Reyes Diaz,
Here.
Member McCubbin,
Here.
Member Larabure,
Here.
Member Nachor,
Here.
Member Gregory Johnson, Member Mann, Member Haggerty, Vice Chair Engdahl,
Here.
and Chair Sheehan-Meyer.
Here.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. After that call to order, do we have to have one each time?
No, Chair.
Okay.
We can do a voice vote.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Okay, so I've skipped, I always do. To the May minutes, we have a motion on the table, we have a second, and we're looking for the vote to approve May minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed,
Aye.
abstained? Okay, motion passes. Next, we need a motion for the September 24th minutes.
I make a motion to approve the September minute.
Thank you, Anthony.
I second.
2 seconds, that's good. And so I can, all those who approve,
I,
Aye.
any opposed, abstentions? All right, motion passes.
Who seconded?
Pardon?
Who seconded? Thank you.
Larabure.
So we have COC member announcements. Does anybody have something or an event or something special? I know I attached, oh, go ahead, Jefferson.
Yeah, I guess my announcement is just an update to what's going on in Novato. I recently attended a Complete Streets and Pathways Committee meeting that they had with the city's Department of Public Works. And they were just going over some of the candidate stretches of road that they were considering to repave or rehabilitate in the following years. And they outlined a new program that they are considering where they essentially kind of divvy up the city into zones and then kind of just work on repaving like every single street within a given zone. And it seems that the first zone being considered is around the Hamilton neighborhood, so centered around the smart station there in Hamilton. So just something to look forward to, maybe in the next year or two. Presents an opportunity to create some kind of a localized bike network around the station. Yeah.
Thank you. Anthony?
well, I also attended a meeting, like last week with Marin Transit regarding their mascots final approval, in which now that they have finally approved it, I was not aware that Golden Gate Transit also approved their mascots proposal as well, which begs the question for SMART. When will you finally approve, your adjustments for the SMART train? And I also am wishing, now that Golden Gate Transit has approved their service proposal for mascots, SMART can consider looking into expanding its operations from pretty much operating minus 3 days of the year, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, to actually operating every day of the year. Because from what I understand, SMART does not operate on those 3 days while Golden Gate Transit takes over for for SMART, in which that means if Golden Gate Transit really goes through with the 101, terminating in Novato, that means there will be no transit service in Sonoma County during at least those 3 holiday days of the year. So that's why I really want to make sure that once the adjustments are made, now that Golden Gate and Marin Transit have made their adjustments, SMART will consider looking into potentially expanding its service to make sure that no one in Sonoma County gets left behind with no transit service during those holiday periods. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's something you would take to the board. Kevin?
Yes, the League of Women Voters of Marin County this Friday is sponsoring an event in which it's an organized event in which we would encourage our members to ride smart from Marin County up to Santa Rosa, the Railroad Square. And we will have a luncheon at Chevy's featuring Smart General Manager Eddie Cummins. Everyone's looking forward to that event. Thanks.
What's the date on that?
It's the 12th.
Thank you, 12/12. And I just wanted to commend staff and everybody for the holiday train. It was a lovely little Thursday and lots of kids and lots of Santa photos, and it was just a really good time. So good job on that. Okay, General Manager's report. You've gotten more
Thank you.
attractive.
Yeah, two things. One is Eddie's not here today. He's in the city doing a press event for Clipper. So yes, so we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute when I do the update. And two, I wanted to introduce Kyrene, who is our new clerk of the board and who's here today. So we're so excited to have her. She's been here almost 2 months. A month? I don't know. It seems like she's been here a really long time, and we appreciate her being here too. So just wanted to introduce her, but let's get going with the board report. Do we have that up? Am I supposed to do something? Okay. So we have 4 items that we wanted to talk about today on the GM report. One is the ridership mascots update, which we'll talk a little bit about, Novato pathway update, and the employees of the quarter that we have. So first on ridership, October ridership was 120,127, 24% higher than October of 24 and 110% higher than October of 2019, which was pre-COVID. And the other memorable thing is that it's the 7th straight month over 100,000. So we continue to see increases in ridership that we're pretty excited about. The average weekday ridership is averaging 4,466 for October, which was 23% over October of 24. We lost. Okay. And then November average was 4,216, 30% over November 24. That number is going to change just a little bit because that was before the end of the month was finalized. And this is what we presented at the board meeting, but we're still holding pretty strong there too. Smart Connect ridership was 2,136 and a 50% increase at the airport station over last October. So that's a pretty nice increase. And as you can see in the bar chart, we continue to see growth at the airport, but also since we've moved to 7 days a week down in Larkspur, that's been very successful also. And it's a very nice ride if you haven't done it. I've ridden a couple times now, and it's a nice way to get from our station down to the ferry. On the pathway counts, October was 104,518, 30% over October of 24. And if you notice those numbers, our pathway counts are almost as high as our passenger rail counts, which is quite impressive for our system. And then a little bit about the mascots update. I know you had talked a little bit about this in the opening remarks, but we actually had taken this to our board in July of 25, so earlier in the year. And we had presented the mascots update at that time where our board agreed to make those changes, as well as approved us hiring 13 new employees. So we have been in the process since July of hiring those employees. And the idea being that by the time April came around of next year, we would have everybody on board and trained, because depending on the position that we're hiring, some positions need a couple months of training, but some positions need a year or 6 months, whatever it might be, depending on that. So we have been in the process of hiring these employees, and they were authorized back in July. So I think the question was, when is our board going to take action? They already took action on this back in July. Golden Gate and Marin Transit recently approved service changes. And then again, our service changes will be implemented in April, which is about almost a 20% increase. We're going from 42 to 48 trips on the weekday. And one of the biggest changes is on the weekend, which is 16 to 24 trips and includes evening service until 11 p.m., both on weekdays and weekends. So quite a bit of service changes there. I think we figured it was about a 4 to 5% increase in employees, but a 19 to 20% increase in service. So we're going to be putting out quite a bit of service. I know you asked about Christmas and Thanksgiving. At this point in time, we feel pretty strongly about continuing to give those days off for our employees. When we run service, we have to pay employees to work that time. And so at this time, that could change in the future, but right now, I think Eddie feels pretty strongly about continuing to at least to have those days, Christmas and Thanksgiving off for our employees. Next update is the pathway. So this is a portion of the pathway in Novato, Bell, Marin Keys between Frosty Lane and Hannah Ranch. And this pathway proceeds SMART. This segment, as you can see on the left, needed some pretty intense vegetation control and trimming. And there was a debate over a period of time about who was in charge of that particular part of the pathway, whether it was SMART, the County of Marin, or Caltrans, and finally able to determine that it was Caltrans that was responsible. So in October, they went in and did some tree trimming, vegetative work, and sweeping. And you can see on the right-hand side, it doesn't even look like the same place. So they did a pretty incredible job there and really improved the situation for the people that use that pathway in that area. And we want to thank Caltrans for their partnership on this project because that's quite a difference there you can see in the before and after. And then for our employee of the quarter, we have for the third quarter of 2025, employees are nominated by their peers. So we have a process by which people can nominate people in the organization. And then our winners receive a certificate and probably more importantly for them, a paid day off that they're able to use. And so for the third quarter, we had two winners. One was in vehicle maintenance and her name's Maylin Wright. She's a material sourcing specialist. And then the other one was in maintenance of way and is Noel Olvera. And he is a track maintainer in our maintenance of way area. So we want to congratulate both of those winners for the third quarter of 2025. And with that, I'd be glad to take any questions that you may have.
No. Questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just, with the increase in ridership, was a lot of that due to Windsor or is it, I mean, do you have a breakdown on that or?
So we did see an increase with Windsor. It's a little hard to tell how much was a result of Windsor versus overall just continued growth because we had been seeing steady growth up to that point in time. But I do think we have seen an increased usage at the Santa Rosa station, and we've been calling that the Windsor effect because Santa Rosa has now moved up to one of our busiest stations that we have. It, I think, was third before, and now it's either first or second. So it has made a difference, particularly at that Santa Rosa station as a result of that opening. But so it has to have an impact. The exact order of magnitude, we're not quite sure just because we'd already been seeing a continued growth in ridership. But we're really anxious to get to Healdsburg too and have a Healdsburg effect.
We'll make a note that Dr. Richard is here with us now. Thanks for coming. It takes like 100 times. Thank you very much, Heather. And now we have public comment on non-agenda items. Looking to the room, not seeing anybody.
There's no public comment at this time.
Thank you. Okay, I think we can move forward. Kyrene, here's your presentation for the 2026 proposed meetings. These are the dates, by the way, for our next 4 throughout fiscal 25, 26.
Yes, I think we just need to review and have the chair lead a motion to accept.
Please, yep.
Thank you.
What are they? Sorry.
Give me just a moment. Thank you.
Maybe.
The proposed dates for the meeting schedule for the Citizen Oversight Committee for SMART is proposed on March 25th, 2026, May 27th, 2026, September 23rd, 2026, December 9th, 2026.
Was that October 9th? I'm sorry. The last one?
December 9th.
Okay, there we go. All right, so those are the dates.
Chair,
Yes.
Can you read those again?
Of course. March 25th, 2026, May 27th, 2026, September 23rd, 2026, and December 9, 2026.
And Madam Chair, I would just comment on that, that we, particularly the first two, we were trying to schedule those so that this group could provide input to the budget process. So in March, we would be presenting the calendar and kind of where we are with the initial steps of the budget process. And then May is our usual time right after the board workshop where we come to you, present how the board workshop went, and then ask for your input and consideration. So that's kind of how we came up with the first couple.
Well, and it helps us do our job, so we appreciate that. And do you have any questions? Anybody have any questions on that? So we have a motion to accept that and sure.
Do we need a
Matthew.
motion? I'll move
Matthew.
to accept those.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Did we do that right? Okay. So, scratch that. We're on item 7, the comprehensive fiscal financial report from Heather again, please.
Yes, you're going to hear from me a lot today.
All right.
That time of year. So every year we have a annual comprehensive financial report prepared by an independent auditor. Our auditor is Eide Bailey, and they presented to the board at our last meeting in November regarding the annual report. They presented that there were no material findings and that our financial statements were presented fairly, which is always a good thing, that they didn't have findings and they determined they were presented fairly. One of the things I want to mention in this particular report is each year we usually attach what we call the single audit. That particular audit is required when you get over $750,000. I think it's actually changing to $1 million now. But if you get a certain amount of dollars in federal funds, you have to prepare a single audit, and that determines whether or not you're billing the feds correctly, you followed all the rules, you haven't tried to bill them for incorrect cost or inappropriate cost. So that's a process that's done. In this organization, we typically prepare that and have our auditors review that at the same time they do our comprehensive audit. But this year, the information that they used to review that in those statistics and things that are found in that particular document was not available. So it just came out the week before last. And so they have not included, we have not included their report because it's not done yet, nor the single audit in this report. We will bring it back to the board and back to this committee once that is available. So right now I'll just be talking about the largest part of the audit, which is our annual comprehensive audit. Just a few highlights other than the fact there were no findings, which we think is a huge highlight because that doesn't happen all the time. We want to talk a little bit about passenger rail and pathway. Our net sales tax collections were $48.8 million, or $33,000 less than the 24, or a 0.07% difference. So we can pretty much say that our sales tax are flat right now. So that's a pretty close number to where we were originally in fiscal year 24. Fare revenues were roughly 4 to 5% higher than fiscal year 24. So a little higher than what we had estimated because our ridership was slightly higher. Even though we offer free and reduced fares for seniors and youth, our adult ridership has actually gone up quite a bit, which has supported those an increased growth in fare revenue, sorry. Passenger operating expenses were $45.7 million, which is $7.5 million increase over fiscal year 24. And that was a result of running more service and providing more service to the public. And assets exceeded liabilities by $661 million, which is always a good thing to have more assets than liabilities. And we continue to pay off our debt. Our debt is expected to be paid off in fiscal year 29, and we do not anticipate issuing additional debt at that time. So we continue to see that number go down. Freight total revenues were $2 million or $315,000 less than fiscal year 24, but that was mainly because we did not have to draw on our state grant that we had because our expenditures were less. So we had less revenues needed because we had less expenditures. And then assets exceeded liabilities by $13 million. $724,000 of that was restricted. So with that, I would be glad to take any questions you have. We did include in your packet the entire audit that is available. So if you, in your free time, want to peruse it and have any questions for me, feel free. If it's not here today, you can always give me a call or send me an email, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have.
So I need to do a presentation to the board at the next meeting, I believe it's next week. And so we want to make a recommendation to accept this. So at this time, if I have any questions.
Well, I think the board's already accepted this.
Oh, they have?
So
Okay.
yes. So I think just saying that it's been presented and that
Take
you've
that.
had the opportunity to look at it.
But Tom has a question.
So the state sales tax had a decline of 0.707%?
I'm sorry, what?
State sales tax income went down 0.07%, is that right?
So our sales tax went down 0.07%. So the amount of sales tax we collect is part of Measure Q.
Marin and
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So no action is needed, just the presentation, and then we can report that we were
Yes,
presenting.
you don't have to.
Great.
I don't think they have to vote on this one, right? Or do we? Okay. No action required.
And we have Kevin. Kevin, you have a comment?
Yeah, Heather, thank you very much for sharing the information. Over the figures you just went over, you said fair revenues were 5% higher in 2024. Do you have a dollar figure for that?
Yes, it was 2.35 million was our total amount, I believe. And I'll have that available in just a second when I go over the budget to actual, so I can give you the exact number in just a second.
Thank you.
Looking to see any other questions? I don't see any. Thank you very much, Heather. And we'll go on to the next Heather item, which is the receive the fiscal 24-25 budget, the actual comparison.
Yeah, so this particular presentation goes along with, there we are. So this particular presentation goes hand in hand with the annual comprehensive financial report, because this is where we come and tell you, let me backtrack a little bit. So in July or August, we come forward to the board and we give them a monthly report that says, this is what we think year end's going to look like, but it hasn't been audited yet and we haven't done final close on it. This is a presentation. We final out everything. We have the audit completed, and we're just telling you where we ended up versus our budget that we had. So how well did we do in accordance to our budget throughout the year? So with that, I'm going to do a presentation on this. So we're going to start with passenger. On the passenger revenue side, on sales tax, and we talked a little bit about this, was 38% of total revenues, and it was 1.9% or $943,000, a little less than $1 million less than estimated. So the previous one we were comparing against the previous year, and we were 0.07% difference. From our estimate, we were 1.9% difference. So, and it makes up a large chunk of our revenues, as you can see, about 38%. One of the reasons in the past we've said it's about 50% of our budget. This year we happen to get a very large amount of state and federal grants. So you'll see that as we go through here, that skews that percentage. Those grants are typically for construction. So that's why there's a little difference there. On the state grant side, they make up 44% of our revenues. Again, quite a bit of money there. We collected 3% or $1.7 million more than anticipated. And the reason for that is because we carried forward some money from the previous fiscal year. We were able to bill that out, and we were billing projects faster than what we had originally anticipated. So if we spend the money and we have the grant available, we can then bill for it. On the federal grant side, it was 5% of total revenues, and we collected 19% or $1.6 million less than estimated. And this was the case where we actually had a federal grant for the preliminary work of Healdsburg, and we just didn't spend that money as quickly as what we thought we were going to. So that money has now been rolled into the current fiscal year 26, and we are actively spending that money now to get ready to go and design Healdsburg. So, whoops, did I go too far? Nope. Other sources included in the other sources here is interest earnings of $1.2 million. That makes up part of this $1.6 million more than we estimated. The other part of that is included in here is the fair revenue. And the fair revenue was the 5% higher, and it was $2.5 million was the total amount in the end. Our regional funds, which make 3% of total revenues, we collected 1% or $32,000 less than estimated. And again, that's just because we didn't spend the money, so we couldn't get reimbursed for it. And then our fund balance, that means we took money out of fund balance to be able to pay because we had more expenditures estimated than we had revenues coming in, and that was 5% of the total. Our total revenues were $129.2 million, and you'll see in a minute our expenditures will equal that amount also. On the expense side, this was a very capital intense year. As a lot of you may have come to a lot of our openings, so that we were quite busy last year. Capital made up 48% of our total expenditures. So, and I listed them here. Windsor, we had 3 parts of that project: the civil work, the systems work, and the undercrossing up there. Those projects were all completed. Then we had the Petaluma Station, the McDowell Crossing, and then we completed 3 pathway segments last year. McGinnis to Smith Ranch, South Point to Pengrove, and Golf Course to Bellevue. So it was an extremely busy year for us. And it will continue to be that way as we continue to build north, and we're working on Healdsburg right now. You can't see it up there very well, but salaries and benefits made up 23% of our total expenses. So if we take capital out of the picture, salaries and benefits typically make up between 70 and 80% of our expenditures per year. On services and supplies, so that's everything that's not capital and everything that's not salaries and benefits. It was 14% of total expenses and under projections by almost 30% or $7.9 million. And some of that was related because we had so many capital projects last year. A lot of our folks that do maintenance and operation type activities, maintenance of way, they spent a lot of time flagging and doing other work that supported our Petaluma and our Windsor station. So they weren't able to get as much of the regular routine work done. And so we underspent in some of those areas while they were supporting the capital operations. And then on debt service, we had $16.9 million of principal and interest, and our reserve contribution of 2% of total expenses. So our total expenses came to $129.2 million and matched the total revenue, which is a good thing. On the freight side, we had freight movement fees. This was pretty exciting for us. Freight movement fees were 31% over projections. So they came in $200,000 over what we had anticipated. It was a very good freight year last year. And what that means is when we get more revenue that way in the form of fees or storage fees, then we have to use less of the state grants that we get, and then we can save those to do things like capital improvements. We're not having to spend them on operating type costs. On miscellaneous revenues, which the largest source of this is the 45G tax credit. So I'll explain that for a second. So when you operate and maintain a freight and a passenger rail line, and our line all the way from Shelbyville all the way up to through Cloverdale is considered a freight line also, because you'd use that for freight someday. As long as we maintain that in a good order, if we were a private freight operator, we would get a tax credit for that. Well, we are not, we're public. We're one of the few public ones. So in order to, we can't use that tax benefit. So we're allowed to sell that to an operator that can use it. And so we have a broker, and that broker goes out and looks for people that want to buy our tax credit. We've had the same railroad, a railroad in Indiana, short line, that wants to buy that. And so we get money for that. And so it's about $250,000. So it's a considerable chunk of change for us that enables us to help fund operations in this, or match capital projects if we need match for that. Leases, which are property that we have on the freight corridor that we lease to others, resulted in 14% of all revenues. Freight storage fees were 8%. Last year, we did store Caltrain cars, I'm trying to say, because they went to electrification. Those cars all went away, unfortunately, on June 30th. So this year we do not have any storage, but last year we had quite a bit of storage fees. And so that was nice, and that helped support it. And then we had a state short line grant, which was for capital, and that made up 5% of all revenues. Missing from this picture is any state general fund money. And we did not have to use any last year because of the increase in the fees that we got from freight movement. So that was a good year for us. We were very excited. We need to be doing more of that in the future. On the expense side, services and supplies made up 47% of expenditures. We did overspend by $21,000. However, we had some fund balance in there that we were able to use. Salaries and benefits was 44% of expenditure, and we underspent by 62. So you'll see the salaries and benefits did offset the over expenditures on services and supplies. Projects were 9% of expenses, and we had 2 last year, the tie replacement project. So every year we try to replace a certain number of ties to try to keep up with the wear and tear out there. And then the Grandview grade crossing. So that was done last year. And with that, I'd be glad to take any questions about any of the information. Included in your packet is more detail on the line-by-line information. So if you want to look at that, you'll have that available to you. And I just want to double check the sales tax number real quick. Or I'm sorry, fair revenue real quick while you're doing that. Train fares, I'm sorry, train fares was $2.3 million, not 2.5.
Hey, Tom, you have to.
So selling the tax credits for the line to the other company, is that a one-time sale or is that ongoing?
It is actually ongoing right now. So as long as Congress allows that to take place, we can do that. There has been periods of time in the past before we took over the freight that the Congress has eliminated that credit, but currently it's been in place for about the last 6 years. And we have not heard anything about eliminating that, but it is an annual thing.
Well, my question though is once you sell it to another company, it's completely sold. You no longer have the.
For that year only, for that tax year.
Oh, for that year. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
just for that tax year, and it's on a calendar year basis.
So it's an offset.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions, Anthony?
So I'm looking into the revenues. How much, how much did you collect in fares? Because, from what I understand, when you run a transit agency, you collect fares through the Clipper card system. How much did you end up collecting from the Clipper cards that, that have been, tapped and used at, smart stations?
So, our total collections was 2.3 million. About 25% of that comes from our mobile app. So if you subtract 25% of that number off, the rest is what we get through Clipper. So about 75% of our fair revenue comes through the Clipper app process, yeah, or the Clipper, using the cards.
Okay, so if that's the case, what is your, there, in like, there's a figure here, it's like, the fare box recovery ratio for for this fiscal year. Now that we have an idea of how much you earned in like a revenue wise in like a 2.3 million, in which 25% came from the app and the remainder coming in from Clipper, what is your fare box recovery ratio now that we have these figures on hand?
So I do not calculate fare box recovery ratio for this organization, and there's a reason for that. So I don't know that. I would have to go calculate it for you. The reason we don't do that is because it's not one of the measurements that our particular board has done. When they made the decision to go free for youth and seniors, we knew that the fare box recovery would not be good, right? Because you're giving away a lot of your service for free. We also have the Start and the Bay Pass, right? That also offer very discounted rates. So I do not know the answer to that. I could calculate it, but I do not have that handy. I would have to come back to you.
Okay, perfect. Because from what I understand, when you have train services, now that you offer a lot of free services, I won't be surprised if the fare box recovery ratio would be slightly smaller than most other transit agencies would have, especially when you have larger agencies like Muni or the VTA or AC Transit. But I won't be surprised either if you have that smaller recovery ratio, because number one, as you said, you already give a lot of free rides, to seniors and the youth, which will of course impact the recovery ratio. But at the same time, as a public service, you also use the money that you collect from, from state, federal, and regional sources to pretty much expand and maintain a robust network, which is, connecting the North Bay.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the board has chosen to prioritize ridership and access to people in our community and who visit us over the fare box collection.
Thank you.
When I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the $330,000 was also an investment from a marketing standpoint. What that would cost to the equivalent of investing in a marketing plan to increase ridership, the same amount, exponentially is a better benefit and is well received and has increased ridership. So win-win.
Yeah, and I think we were pretty excited the other day after released their numbers, and I think we're #1 in the country for an organization our size in fare box recovery. So I'm not fare box recovery, in ridership recovery.
And I know people, it's very popular. I got asked, are you going to do it again? Probably, but I don't know. Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions? Good job, guys. We have Heather up again.
Shocking. I know.
To receive the comprehensive fiscal year 25 investment report. Heather, again?
Yeah, so I'll have them bring up. So in your packet, there are several documents. One is an overview of our investment policy and where we ended up with the year with some charts and graphs. The other one, just for your edification, are 2 required reports that we have to have that the Sonoma County Treasurer does for us and does for anybody that has investments with them that are required, that show all of the investments, and some of them show it by security type, market value, par value, ratings, those type of things. So if you're interested in that information, it's provided in this packet for you, but I will not be going over that in any detail. I'm going to talk a little bit more about just what is our policy, and then where did we end up this year with our investments. Our investment policies as a government agency are probably very different than you would maybe choose as an individual. And that's because our #1 thing is safety of principle. So we want to preserve the capital we have. And by trying to preserve the capital you have, by default, sometimes leads you to investment that are much more conservative and don't maybe have as high as interest rates as you may. Now, maybe later in life, you would choose a similar pattern, but early in your life, this is probably not the pattern of investments you would choose. But there is a reason for that, and that's because we're investing the taxpayers' money, the people's money that we have a fiduciary responsibility for. The next one is liquidity. So you're like, oh, we need to be able to access that money that we have invested. We do prepare drawdown schedules and things like that based on when we think we're going to use the money. But one of the things that we're required to look at is liquidity. Can we have access to that money? Can we convert that into cash without losing a lot of money? So that's one of the things there. And then lastly is return on investment. So we are looking for some return on investment. So we want a market rate of return, and we want to stay within our risk tolerance and our liquidity requirements. So we do not invest far out into the future. Typically 3 to 5 years is the most that a government agency will invest in. And most of that is a much shorter period of time. So where are we with our investments right now? So you can see at the top of this, and it's also in your packet, that as of the end of June 30th, so I shouldn't say right now because it's changed, but as of the end of June 30th, we had $93 million available, of which over $54 million was in the Sonoma County Treasurer. So that's where we used to invest ours. We're part of a pool there. And then the Bank of Marin, which is where we keep money to do our daily payments. If we're anticipating for the next few months, payments to contractors and things like that, that's where we keep our money. We also pay all of our salaries out of that particular bank, et cetera. Interest earnings for fiscal year 25 was $3.1 million, which is the highest we've ever had in interest earnings as long as I've been here. Interest rates have typically been very low, and they have been much higher, as most of you know, the last couple of years. So we had $2.7 million in unrestricted earnings and $0.3 million or $300,000 in restricted earnings. And you're like, well, what's the difference? So the difference is that for purposes of our bond covenants, which means what we've pledged to the taxpayers, our sales tax goes right to the trustee. The trustee takes the money off the top every month for our debt service payment, and then they hold it for us, and that earns interest on it. And when we have interest earnings there, that's restricted for that particular purpose, meaning we cannot spend that interest on our general activities. It has to go back into paying the bonds. Versus when we earn interest on all our other money that comes to us, then that money's unrestricted. We can use it, and it goes back into the general fund to be used for operations or capital or whatever. The interest rates that we got or through the end of the year were 0.9% for the Bank of Marin, and for Sonoma County, 3.93. That 3.93 is after all their fees. So I think they earned about 4.1, 4.2%. And then they take off their fees, and the net amount is 3.93%. We have been discussing with Bank of Marin because we've been having to carry higher balances because of all the payments we have every month. For a while there, we were paying $3 to $4 million out a month in just construction payments last year, every single month. So I was having to keep higher balances. They have agreed to increase that rate to I think it's 1.45 or 1.5% recently. So we are going to see higher interest earnings there for any funds that we keep there on a short-term basis. So what are we allowed to invest in? These are the type of things that we're allowed to invest in. We use the Sonoma County pool, one, because it's convenient, and two, they have to follow all of the investment criteria that we have to follow as a government agency, so that we know that they're doing what they're supposed to do. We also get the reports that are in the packet. So we know the kind of investments they're making. But you can see these investments are pretty secure investments, right? They're pretty stable. They allow us to earn a market rate. for the most part because of the type of investments that they are. And then the yield comparison. So for the quarter ended June 30th, 2025, the Fed rate was 4.33% and the pool rate was 3.93. Now remember that 3.93 was after fees. So it's closer to 4.1, 4.2. So they're pretty darn close to the Fed rate. And then the average quarter ended March 2019 versus June 2025. I just did a chart here. The Fed rate averaged 2.6% and the pool rate was 2.1. And you can see there's some large differences, but if you average it out over time, which is, if you've ever had anybody tell you how to invest, you look at it for the long term, right? And it all averages out. So for an averaging standpoint, they're pretty close. If you're trying to buy or sell in one of those areas, might not be so good, but over time, they're pretty darn close. And so we feel comfortable with continuing to use the Sonoma County pool for our longer and higher investments. And with that, I'd be glad to take any questions that you may have.
Tom?
What's the current loan debt balance?
I think, you know what? I do not have that handy. I was just trying to remember because it's in our financial statements here. So let me look that up and I'll get back to you in just a second here.
Okay, so the second part is that how large, I guess, are the monthly payments on that? And then so what I'm wondering is if you have an investment income over what you anticipated, would that make sense to put that against the balance of the loan that's out there to offset? What's the interest rate on the loan?
It's pretty low. They're all mentioned. They're all in this in documents. So I need to pull it up for
Yeah,
you.
unfortunately, I thought I put it on my iPad, but then.
No, that's okay. I can get it for you pretty quickly here. It's in the notes section of here. But so when it comes to bonds, you can invest money higher than your interest rate, make money on those, but then you have to pay arbitrage on it. So you end up having to pay. The idea of arbitrage is to bring it back down so you never make more on your bonds that are sitting out there than you do then you're paying on it, right? So they have to even each other. Now we have no bond proceeds available. We've spent them all. So right now we're just paying debt service and we're just earning interest in the Sonoma County pool on the money that they're setting aside every month to pay debt service. So we don't have any, we don't have any actual bond proceeds available that we could invest.
And so the debt service, I would assume, was pretty low.
It's very low. We spend about $16.9 million a year. It's decreasing over time towards 2029. But they collect 1/12 of it every month and they remit it twice a year.
All right, thanks.
Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
So the Bank of Marin money it's more liquid than the other money, right?
That is correct.
Because you need to, I mean, otherwise, because you make more interest on the pool money, you would put more of the Bank of Marin money into the pool, but you actually need the cash. So is that the reason why?
Yes, and so right now we've gotten over the last couple months a lot of reimbursements that we were waiting on. So I'll probably make a move from Bank of Marin to Sonoma County to move some of that money so it can earn higher interest until I need it again, and then I'll wire it back again. So we move money back and forth depending on what we see is our need, so that we keep more money in the higher interest earning accounts, which is with Sonoma County than it is with Bank of Marin.
Great, thank you.
Okay, looking around for more questions. I don't see any. Brings us back to the agenda, and we've finally, I think the last actual presentation is about the Clipper 2.0 update.
Okay, Clipper 2.0. Well, the exciting part is we went live today. So the not so exciting part is we had some issues. So we'll talk about those in a second, but first we'll talk about the good things about going live today. And one of them is that we went live. So I've been working on Clipper 2 since I got here 5 years ago. So it's very exciting that we do have a new product. And one of the big things that people don't understand is what is Clipper 2 and why does it matter, right? Well, the big issue is we're moving from a card-based system where the chip is on the card and all your data resides on the card to it being in the cloud. And I always like to compare it to Starbucks, right? You go to Starbucks, you load it right there on your app, the money's available, you go in there and use it, you can set it up to be replenished, so it's not on your card. It doesn't matter if you have your card or not. You can use your phone, you can use whatever, it's available to you. In the current, or in the system we had before today, for those of you that used it on a regular basis, you could load stuff on it, but until you tapped, that value did not become available. You could not see it in your account. It took times. If you rode the bus, it will take until it goes back to and downloads the data, and then it updates the information. So all of that is now going to be seamless. You'll be able to see it right away. And I have tried that, and it does work. You get to see it as you're tapping. You get to see it as you're loading it right there. You can see those features. The other another feature that's useful, and BART has been using this for now a couple months, and they have seen it be very successful, is what we call tap to pay. So this is the ability, like you do at the store. If you want to use your credit card, you just tap the machine, it charges your card. You can do the same thing now. You can go to the validators, you go up to the validator, instead of using your Clipper card, you can use your credit card, you can tap it. That will register that you tapped at that particular location, and then you tap on the way out, and it will charge you the appropriate amount to your credit card. BART, like I said, has been using this. They did an early launch with it. They have been seeing great success, particularly where they see tourists, like at the airport. So the San Francisco airport, where you can get on BART there, they've seen like a 70% decline in the sale of cards there. And one of the reasons is, if you're not going to use it very long, why pay the $3 for a card, right? I can just use my credit card. And so I think that's been very successful there. I'm not sure how it will be here, but we're looking forward to see if it takes off here and people can start using that. But that's one of the features. The other is the transfer credit now will be up to $2.85. And that really comes into play, not necessarily when you're riding the North Bay, because it's $1.50 in the North Bay, and it has been $1.50, but across the whole system. So if you were to start here, then go to the ferry, then go to BART, you ultimately would get up to $2.85 transfer credit on that. One of the other interesting things is if you start on our system and you travel, you have 3 hours to make those transfers. If you start on another system and come here, it's 2 hours. But if you start on one of our systems and you go, it's 3 hours. And that's because it might take you longer if you want to get into the city or something to use one of the other systems. And then I already mentioned your value is available instantaneously, but so is the deduction coming up instantaneously. Some of the marketing that was going out today, you may have already seen it, but it will be pushed out in the next few weeks if you haven't seen it already, is one, emphasizing the contactless payment, otherwise known as, they're coining it tap to pay. The other one is correct fare charging. So with the tap to pay feature, one of the downsides is you need to take out your Clipper card or your credit card out of your wallet. You can't just put your wallet up there anymore, because it will recognize multiple cards in there if you have cards that have chips in them. So it could, and has in testing, charged multiple cards if you're don't take it out of your wallet and just present one card at the validator. So that's one of the big things there, because it has happened in testing. It doesn't know which card to read with what chip, so it's looking to charge whatever or whichever one it comes across first. And the last one is balance awareness. And this is one that I know has been frustrating for us when testing. So we want to make sure people are aware of this. In the past, when you tapped on the validator, you could see your balance. So as you tapped on your Clipper card, you could see your balance there. So you knew you at $2, I have $5, I have $7, whatever left. Now there is no balance and there is not an intent to have balance on the validators. So you need to look at your account if you want to have know what your balance is. Or you can go to the ticket vending machine that we have on the platforms and you can find out your balance there also, but it's no longer going to be available when you tap on the validators as you get on, as you approach the stations or get on the train. You're going to have to look at your account to see that, or go to one of the ticket vending machines to see it. Transition. So Clipper's doing what they call a bulk transition. So right now, all of us have these, what they're calling Clipper One cards, right? They have the chip base. They worked with the old back office, and we need to transfer them to the new back office. So they're doing this in a series of what they're calling tranches, priority order. They've called them a bunch of different things over the last couple of months. I'm calling them tranches. So the first one that they're trying to migrate, and they started today, was those with discounted. So if you have a senior, youth, if you have a start or an access card, so anything that has a discount, they're going to transfer those to from the existing card to a new card. You're not going to get a new card, but they're calling it a new card. Basically, you get all the benefits now of having a new Clipper C2 access. The second tranche is going to be institutions and transit benefits. So institutions are those where we have the Bay Pass with, those type of activities, or people with transit benefits. So if your employer gives you transit benefits, you have the ability to buy transit benefits. Those get loaded. Those are going to get transferred in the second tranche. And then for us, I only list through 3 because in North Bay operators, we're going to be in the third tranche. So Golden Gate, ourselves, Sonoma County, Santa Rosa City Bus, sorry, I'll get it, Marin Transit will all be in this third tranche. And so most of our customers will be converted probably in the next month. There is the ability for individuals to transfer their own to the new system. They can go in to their app or online and they can request that be transferred, or they can call the customer service area. Now they're worried about customer service becoming overloaded, so they're requesting that you go in through the app or the website. That app and website was down this morning. They were having some problems with that. So you might want to wait till tomorrow to do that. But in any new system, there's going to be glitches. So, the transition is expected to take 3 months. Again, if people want the benefits of the new Clipper 2, like the ability to get the transfer credit and some of the other things, then they can go online and do it and not wait. Before I go through defer features, one of the other things that is not applicable to us necessarily right now, but if you travel on any of the other systems like Golden Gate and go into the city, you can now apply for senior and youth cards online. So before you had to come to a customer service office like us or one of our sister agencies, now you can present that information electronically that can demonstrate your age. And you can do that online. So I think that'll be a big benefit for people, because a lot of people that come in here are just to get senior and youth cards. Even though it's free for us, they want to go into the city, they want to take a different mode, a different transit agency, and they need that discount. So that'll be a nice feature. These are some of the deferred features. Most people won't know they're deferred, so this is more just for your information, but mobile tickets in the Clipper app. So you were supposed to be able to do mobile tickets where you could just do a visual inspection. That's not available. So we will continue to use our mobile app until that's available. So nothing's changed with our Masabi Just Ride app. You can still use that to buy tickets. You can still use that to buy the rail and sail and the weekend tickets. Our the inspection devices that we have, we were supposed to be able to actually load value onto people's card and sell passes. That's not available, which is not necessarily a bad thing for our folks because it'll take them time to get used to using the new machines to check balance. So maybe that's not a bad thing. And then auto correction of missing taps on travel. So this is a new feature where if somebody consistently taps on and taps off at a certain place, so we can see a pattern in the back office, the system can identify that. And if they miss a tap off, so they've tapped on and they don't tap off, it will calculate for them what the fare would have been based on their regular travel routine and charging them that instead of charging them the full fare like it does if you don't tap off. So that feature is a nice feature for those agencies, especially that have a lot of people that forget to tap off. Ours is not that extreme, so I don't know how this will work. I don't think it'll make a huge difference with our customers, but I know in some agencies it will. And then there are certain other features that certain operators had asked for that are specific to them. We did not have any features like that. And so we don't have anything else that's going to be deferred at this time. But that's kind of where we are with the smart transition. Really, we're just following the lead of Clipper and going with the ebbs and flows and trying to address customer issues as quickly as we can. But for anything occurring with Clipper from this point forward, they really want us to have the customer call Clipper or email Clipper or go onto their account to address it versus us trying to handle it within the office here. So that will be a little bit of a difference because we try to go out of our way sometimes to help them with that. And they've asked us to make sure that we're having customers go directly to them. So that will be a little bit of a difference for our customers.
So I have a question, and it's with the transfers. So when you get on a city bus and you go in the same direction, you get a transfer slip. So how does that, is it just another fare, each different transit that you're using? Or is there a transfer, when you say transfer credit, is that
it's on
what you're talking about?
Using your Clipper card, yes. So when you use your Clipper card, let's say you go from Smart to the ferry. So when you transfer from Smart to the ferry, if you use your Clipper card, you're going to get a discount. So instead of paying, say, $3 with us, and I don't know what the ferry is, but say $10 with them, right? You're going to get at least $1.50 deduction from that ferry fare that you would have normally paid. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be across the whole system. So in the North Bay, we offered it just within our operators, $1.50. But now if you go across the whole system, if you start on BART and you transfer to something else, or you start on, something in Contra Costa and you transfer to BART, then you're going to get that transfer.
and Muni too. So
Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. Anthony?
So I have a series of questions. First of all, use a credit card to tap on, tap off. Does this also apply to debit cards as well?
Yes, and I know that because Eddie used his debit card this morning and told me that he was able to do it. So yes, you can use the debit card if it has a chip on it, right?
Yeah, because I do have a debit card myself, and usually when I read you need to use a credit card to pay for your fare, so I immediately ask, does debit card also exist?
Yes.
And that could be used also for for Clipper 2.0 as well?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So when you said the transfer credit is up to $2.85, as far as I recall, when I ride Golden Gate Ferry, instead of $2.85, I think I get a much bigger discount when I transfer between bus or train to the ferry, because from what I recall, the ferry gives me a good discount of at least $4. It's almost like 50% off, because that's what I recall from Golden Gate Transit's schedule book. So when the cap now is at $2.85, that means the transfer discount between a bus and a ferry or a train and a ferry would be much lower compared to, compared to before Clipper 2.0. What happened to, why the lower, a transfer credit rather than before?
So, and I'd have to check on this to be sure, but I think what you're talking about is what Golden Gate before had on their ferry is if you used a Clipper card, it wasn't a transfer, but if you used a Clipper card, you got a discount versus if you paid right there and got your ticket at the terminal or whatever it might be. So they were trying to encourage the use of the Clipper card.
Correct.
So if you use the Clipper card, my understanding is you still would get whatever the Clipper price is. And then if you had transferred from another system, then you would get that discount for the transfer. And then let's say you started on Golden Gate and then went to BART, you would get the discount when you transferred to BART.
That one, if I recall, the transfer between Golden Gate and BART, I believe there is no discount between
No.
Golden Gate and BART,
There will be now.
especially when I used to do the East Bay run when I got off at Del Norte and then transferred to BART, there's no discount.
But there
Same
is no-
goes the other way.
But there will be now.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's,
And that's the odd $2.85 came from BART because their amount of
that's a local.
yes, is
Yeah.
$2.85.
Right,
So-
right. And
So
also,
yes, there
yeah.
will be a transfer now.
Okay, perfect. Because there's also the bulk transition. You're on tranche 3, North Bay operators. Now that I really feel like this will be a huge problem because we still operate on a zone by zone system. Whereas for most other agencies, they either have a flat one fare system, or with AC Transit, they have the Transbay versus the system, same as Caltrade, worse for BART. So how will this affect our overall commuting, patterns, especially when I don't think we are transitioning away from the zone system to something that is a fare, a unified fare in the near future because of our overall structure here in Marin and Sonoma counties.
So I guess I need more clarification. So I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah,
So-
we all have different ways of charging people.
Yeah,
And we do have a zone system.
Yeah.
But the discount will be based on what system you start on, what system you go to for the dollar amount. So
Right.
for us, it's $1.50 for the North Bay. If you were to go from us to Golden Gate, then to BART, you would get up to $2.85 total. Yes.
Okay, because because I'm like $2.85 and I'm like, wait, is this also the same fare for Muni? Because I remember Muni's fare, it will continue to climb up. It's like $3 now for a local, so $2.85 for a Clipper. So I said maybe I could think of, okay, if I were to transfer between Golden Gate and Muni, then I also get a transfer credit of like what, 50 cents? Is that
I would have to look at their, what their fare is, but yeah, for their local, but yes.
Yeah, the fare
Your
may,
one zone is $1.50. That's why the transfer is $1.50.
yeah, so the fare matrix really becomes like, okay, I really have to look into this. Thank you for thank you for this.
All right, Kevin.
Thank you for your presentation. What is the financial impact of using a credit card in terms of fees? So if I pay my fare using a credit card, then the fees come out of the payment and the transit agency would get less money. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So that's the downside versus the convenience. The other question is, if I use a credit card to pay for my fee and I transfer to another system, does the transfer discount still apply? I mean, will it figure out, providing I use the same credit card?
Yes, so you must use the same credit card for it to recognize that. So even if you use Smart, let's say you're taking a trip on Smart, you have to tap on and off with the same credit card. and only one credit card can be used per person. So you can't use the same credit card to tap on multiple people because at one station, because it will think you're tapping on and off, on and off, on and off. So so that's how they get around that is you need one credit card, and the transfer credit is available as long as you tap on and off, tap on and off. It'll give you that discount. So if you tap on here and you tap off on BART, then it's going to know, and you've done it within that 3-hour time frame, it's going to give you that credit, that transfer credit.
So what is the advantage of, if I had a choice between using a credit card or getting a Clipper card, what is the advantage of me getting a Clipper card?
The advantage is if you are a senior or a youth,
Right.
you get a discount. When you use your credit card, you do not get any kind of a discount. So if you're an adult, there really isn't a difference because we absorb all the fees. But if you're a youth or senior, by getting a Clipper card, you'll get that discount. Or if you have the access, the card, or you happen to be on an institutional, you'll get the discount.
Great, thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Rich.
Thank you for your presentation. I want to say, even though there's some hiccups along the way, this is very exciting and it points to progress. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We're
Go ahead.
excited too.
Matthew.
Yeah, a couple questions on the balance viewing. So I personally use a Clipper card on my phone. I just hold my phone up. And so am I just supposed to guess when it's out, or do I have to check it every time to see what my balance is? Because I use that, okay, I'm getting low. I
Yeah.
personally have a corporate account that I use pre-tax, so I have to go through, I don't know, to WEX or something like
Yes.
that. But then I go into reload my Clipper card, which, to be honest, is not the most convenient, but whatever for the discount on tax savings. But then I look at the balance and then I say, okay, I'm getting low. I transfer from WEX to Clipper because at that point it still is what, $300 or $250 or the balance that I can hold on my Clipper. So I guess my question is, how am I going to know when I'm low? And is it just going to be like rolling the dice and then say, no, I can't go on because I don't have any money? Or like logistically, how does that play out?
There are a couple changes that I hate to say a lot of them out loud, but that are beneficial to the customers. So one of the things is when you do tap on, there will be a yellow light if you have $2 or less available on your card. However, if you have anything but a negative balance, so if you even have 0 on your card, it will allow you to get on, tap on. It will just put you in the negative and it will block you from writing any more until which time you have filled it up again. You will need to, in order to avoid that situation, you will need to look at your balance inside the app where your Clipper card is stored. I think your Clipper card is stored in the app. So you would need to check that there instead of being able to see it on the machine. And then on the transit benefits, same thing. Yeah, you'll have to look and see before you transfer it. But that is the downside. I'm not sure why it was programmed that way, but I know that is one of the things they're not planning on. It's not a mistake. They're not planning on changing that.
Yeah,
So-
you'll just be a ghost rider on the train. You just
Yeah, roll the dice so they're gonna let you on today. No, I guess a feedback suggestion to them, maybe if there's an alert system, I don't even know if there might be on Clipper, to say, hey, let my.
That's the yellow light.
Hmm?
That's the yellow light.
Yeah, like on Clipper to say, hey, I'm at $20,
Right.
$30.
Now, if I know you're on the transit benefit, so that's a little different, but you can auto load in Clipper, right? So you can set it to, like I do at Starbucks.
Yeah.
If I get below $25, please put another $25 on there, right? So you can do that now and you can do it in the new app. It's a little different for you because you have to, with your transit benefits, make that transfer over. So, but yes, we will continue to provide them that feedback that,
Getting some alert more than
Yeah.
$2.
I mean, I think ultimately we'd love to see the number back on the validator so that people know when they tap.
I guess it makes sense though, if you're using a credit card or some sort of debit card that system wise, you're not going to be able to see what the balance in your
Yes,
account
that's
is
true.
versus. But
Yeah.
I guess there's some logic to that, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Good questions, everybody. Is that it?
Actually, I would like one more thing to point out. I think now that we have Clipper 2.0 and now you accept credit and debit cards, I really would love to see, because I've seen posts on social media wherein tourists would ask, can I pay now using my credit or debit cards on the bus? To which now I can say yes. But I also want to see, now that we are transitioning to Clipper 2.0, I would love to see how much of the fares that we get, for each transit agency now comes from, a credit and debit cards too, because before we were collecting data from cash and clipper cards and also, a concession fares, seniors and, a youth and all. Now, I would really love to see how this transition will impact, okay, how much of the fares that we collect come from debit and credit cards? Because truthfully, when you see a lot of these tourists start tapping onto the clipper machines using their debit and credit cards, then we will definitely see okay, what's the likelihood that this system is heavily patronized by tourists, especially when these people, they may not have an idea how to use a Clipper card. All they know is, okay, we have a debit or credit card. We're gonna use that instead of buying Clipper, which means a lot of Clipper cards can be saved, but at the same time, that means a lot of these ticket vending machines may may still have a lot of Clipper cards stuck on them rather than, okay, we're gonna get a Clipper card now. So hopefully in, a future, financial statements and, ridership reports that we can see okay, how many of the passengers use credit and debit cards as their form of payment? Because this one's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm assuming we'll get that because Bart has been sharing that information. So we just have not, we've had training on how to look up a report, but until today, we weren't able to try it ourselves. And then the system was down today. So at some point, I'm assuming we'll be able to see the reports and we'll be able to see that information because I'm assuming that's how Bart derived the information.
And I have
from
a few
those reports.
comments, but remember, this is a small but mighty team. That's dealing with a lot of different minutia and moving parts. And so when it comes to this kind of data, it's relevant to today or it's not, or it's relevant to the future, it's not. So our expectations have to sort of be set at what they're doing right now. And then you can put your list of wants and needs. I just want to compliment you all on all the work that you get done, and especially the Clipper, and I didn't realize that would be such a point of conversation. I also want to do a little shout out to Julia Gonzalez and her team. The marketing has been really remarkable, and she works with so little and gets so much. So it's really been really fun to watch. So thank you. Does anybody else have any final comments? And I have one request of you all before we go.
One more little thought. Is there any thinking behind discounts in the sense of you use it a certain amount of times, ridership to encourage more? Like I visited New York, I used my debit card, and after, it was like 7 times, it didn't charge me anymore. So it was like a certain time frame you can use it. I just throwing it out there as if there are thoughts to encourage more ridership in that structures.
Yeah, actually, we do have a daily accumulator. So if you use your card and you've accumulated over the $7.50, I think it is, or the 15 for the day, then it will stop charging you on a daily basis. So very heavy intensive users, it doesn't apply to very many, but they have that. In the future, we will be able to look at things like weekly or monthly accumulators, because right now we have a 31-day pass, but it's for the whole month. It starts, the first day you tap it till the 31st day. But we could look at accumulators that are on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis. It's just with this first go live, they limited us to products that we already had available. The other things we have asked for is to at least be able to look at a North Bay pass, right? So that you could ride any of the North Bay operators with one pass, whether that was a weekly, daily, monthly, whatever it might be. So those are all things that we have in the queue, but they were not willing to consider new products until they went live with the existing ones.
Perfect. Just wanted to put it
Yeah.
out there and thank you for
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Okay. When you say North Bay Pass, that immediately reminds me of fare capping. That's what it is. So for example, if I were to ride Golden Gate Transit and then travel between Marin and Sonoma County, then that's already like one fare. What if there will be multiple rides? Let's say if I ride different agencies, maybe put a cap on, like let's say $15 or $20, and then the rest of the day you can ride for free, or you can do like 3 local rides within Sonoma County, Marin County, and then you can end up, okay, you can get to ride the rest of the day for free. We already have that system with AC Transit, VTA, and other agencies. So I really hope, you can consider it, collectively as a North Bay.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to, and that we already have that available on Smart, right? So if you ride a lot on Smart in a day, it will cap it, and then it starts over again at 3 a.m.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a request of my team here. I have required by law to present to the board twice a year. So we already did that once this year. I forget which month it was, probably in last March. So I wanted to get your consensus that I will report that we reviewed the annual comprehensive financial report, that we received the fiscal year budget to actual comparison. We received the comprehensive fiscal year 2025 investment report, and that we received the Clipper 2.0 update. So if I have consensus on that, that's what I will report on.
Agreed.
Any
Okay.
opposition? So I can
Nope.
say unanimous again. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks for all your hard work. It's really impressive. I think at this point, and Irene, tell me if I'm wrong, the next meeting is March 25th, and I'll look for somebody to make a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. I don't think we need a second. Adjourned.
Good.